So hey guys, today we're working on this 1989 944 Turbo. Alright, there you go. So I gotta say, this is one of the nicest 944s that I've ever seen. What we're gonna be doing is getting it up here in a minute so that way we can start changing the belts and the water pump. Alright, we got the cover out now. Here's the first look at the belts. We got the belt covers off last night and everything looks really good down in there. So today I'm going to get the belts off and break this thing down the rest of the way. So when the parts come in, we can just put it back together. I've got the balance shaft belt off now, and I've also got the engine set back to TDC so that way I can remove the timing belt. Looking at the balance shaft belt over here, you can see that there is some damage running right up the center of it. And if you look down here at the lower sprocket, you can see why. I'm not sure exactly what caused that, but it's likely someone tried to hold the sprocket with a pair of pliers to remove it at some point, and that's just my best guess anyway. So anyway, I've got to get that cleaned up, and if I can't, it's going to continue to fray the belt, and I may need to replace it because even something small like this could turn into a huge issue down the road. So we want to make sure that we get that taken care of. So I just took my 13mm and tried to loosen this up here, and it was already really loose. You can see that there's a washer on here that doesn't belong. Down there at the idler, this wasn't even tied either. So let's see. Look at that. That's not even in there at all. So I'm going to try and see if I can't fix that as well. I have the timing belt and auto tensioner off now. You can see it here. I'm going to go ahead and get the sprockets off the balance shafts so that way we can remove the rear belt cover, and then we'll take a look and see what's going on with this thing here. So I've got the balance shaft sprockets removed and I've got the rear belt cover pulled out. Next I'll remove the front crank sprockets, and over here looking at the balance shaft sprocket, you can see that damage on the lower one a little bit better now. I got the flywheel lock on and got most of this engine broken down now, so the next thing I'll do is drain the coolant so I can remove the water pump. I've got the water pump and this heat shield loose. I had to make a special tool to be able to get in there and remove the bolt on that heat shield, but I should be able to slide it back, and next we can remove the oil console so we can replace those seals. Okay, I've got the oil console off now, and down here I've got all the parts ready to go back on. Now that the oil console's out, the next thing I'm going to do is put in some new seals and we'll be ready to put it back on. Alright, I got the oil console completely resealed now, and as you can see, my OPRV alignment tool is nice and loose, so I'm going to get this out and install the OPRV. I got the OPRV back in, so the next thing I'm going to do is start resealing the balance shafts. Balance shaft caps are removed and I've got all the seals here, so let's get this car back together. I've got the balance shafts and the cam sealed up now. I'm working on the front main seal down here. You can see there's a lot of burned oil on this crank. I had to use the puller to remove the sprockets, and unfortunately I'm having a difficult time removing the key down in there. So the next thing I'm going to try is a little bit of heat with the torch here. So I worked on removing this woodruff key late into the night, and so far it hasn't budged. As you can see, there's a lot of oil that has dried down in there and has locked it into place. While I've never damaged a woodruff key by removing it before, I guess there's a first time for everything. So I got a few more tricks I'm gonna try, and we'll just see how it goes. I finally got it loose. I used a lot of heat. Then I tapped on it with a screwdriver from underneath. Afterwards, I used some dikes here to pull it up. I'll go ahead and get it out now. And it's not banged up too bad, but I'll probably just go ahead and replace it. Now that that's done, I can finally get in there and replace the front main seal. I have everything out now, so next I'll clean up the crankshaft and install the new seals. Alright, the front end is all sealed up now, so next I'll get the water pump on so we can get these belts back on. I have the new water pump on now, so next I'm going to fill the coolant. I also have a new woodruff key here and a new oil filter so we can change the oil. I've got all the oil drained out now, so next I'm going to start refilling it. So as we were removing the belt cover, I noticed that some of these bolts are really tight, and you don't want to tighten them down too much, otherwise they can get stuck in here like this one did. And as I was trying to get this bolt out, it ended up snapping the cover. So now I've got to replace this cover. So after sorting through a lot of belt covers, we finally found the match. Alright, the replacement belt cover is now on, so next we're going to install the sprockets and belts. So we're putting the sprockets on now. You may remember that the lower sprocket had a few dings in it, so I just went ahead and replaced it with another one and moved it up here to the top. Alright, so I pretty much got this auto tensioner fixed now. If you recall, I could easily just pull this stud in and out. So the issue was that this nut here was all the way down here and it wasn't threading enough in, so it stripped out a little bit of the threads down in there. But what I did was I ran a tap down in there and made sure the threads went all the way to the end here, and I went ahead and put this nut at the end of the stud, and now I can put it down in there and it's going to thread in there nice and tight. I'll put some Loctite on there to make sure it doesn't come out again. So here it is installed, and as you can see, it's locked in there nice and tight, so it's as good as new now. Now that the tensioner is working properly, I'm going to replace the roller so we can get the belt back on. Alright, the belts are back on, so next we're going to put the belt covers on and get this thing finished up. So we got everything back together last night. I even got the belly plates back on. So we're getting ready to try and start this car up. So today I'm going to be flushing the brake fluid. I'm going to start back here at the rear right tire and then move around the car from there. So this brake fluid that we're putting in is a different color than the one that's already in there. So once all this blue fluid is drained out, we'll know that the system is flushed. Alright, I now have clear fluid coming out of all the brake calipers. So We got all the brake fluid drained out now. Next we need to do the same with the clutch. As you can see, there's a separate chamber in there, and once we get that flushed out, we can start refilling everything. So whenever they switched the fluid, they apparently didn't bleed the clutch, because there's a whole bunch of stuff coming out of that. That is a clear line. All right, we now have some clean fluid in the cylinders. So this evening we're changing the transmission fluid as well, and I can't express just how clean this car is. The engine was clean and this transmission is really clean. You can see over here that it has the oil cooler, and when you're changing the fluid on one of these transmissions, what you want to do is start by removing the fill plug and do not remove the drain plug until you do that. So anyway, that's what I've done here. I've already got it sort of loosened up, so I'm going to go ahead and remove it.
Clean.
Alright, so we're putting in some royal purple, and I'm going to be using a transfer pump to get it into the transaxle. That ought to do it. Alright, once the fluid runs out of the hole, all you got to do is put the plug in and tighten it up, and you're done. Alright guys, we got this car finished up now. Just finished warming it up and checking the coolant. Don't see any leaks. And you see in here that the temperature is sitting exactly where we want it. Alright guys, as you can see, the interior of this car is really nice. We can get a roll bar back here. Okay guys, we got this car all finished up now. It has new belts, rollers, and a water pump. We also changed all the fluids, so this car is ready to go home. So that's just about going to do it for this video. If you'd like to stay up to date with some of the projects we're working on around the shop, be sure to join us on Facebook. I'll leave a link in the description below. And if you just can't get enough content, be sure to check out my Patreon page. There you can see cars and videos that you won't see anywhere else. There's even an opportunity to get to see the new videos days before they're released on YouTube. So anyway, guys, that's just about going to do it for this video. I want to thank everyone again who supports this channel on Patreon, since these videos would not be possible without you. But anyway, that's going to do it. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.